Look at any major port, and you will see millions of identical steel boxes moving in a relentless, synchronized rhythm. They carry the sum total of global commerce. But if you were to open the doors on these containers as they cross the ocean, you would find something surprising. Roughly 1 in 3 of them is completely empty. This chart shows total operating costs for global shipping lines. Moving all that air is called empty container repositioning. It consumes over 12% of operating costs, exceeding $20 billion annually. That $20 billion does not buy new ships or faster technology. It is entirely spent on the storage, routine maintenance, and physical transportation required to move empty steel boxes from places where they are not needed to places where they are. The world's most hyper-efficient, highly engineered global logistics network bleeds billions of dollars annually for the privilege of shipping millions of cubic feet of nothing. When you look closely at these containers, you usually see the logos of major maritime carriers: Maersk, MSC, Hapag-Lloyd. It is easy to assume these maritime giants own the equipment they move. Very often, they do not. A massive portion of the world's container fleet is owned by a quiet financial oligopoly. Private equity titans like Triton and Textainer hold the actual titles to millions of these boxes, leasing them back to the shipping lines. To understand how these specialized holding companies manage to extract steady profit from the chaotic movement of empty steel, we have to look back at the original design of the box itself. 70 years of standardization have made these massive repositioning costs a mathematical inevitability. Before 1956, global shipping operated on the breakbulk system. Dock workers manually hoisted individual crates, barrels, and sacks from trucks into the holds of ships. It was an exceptionally slow, labor-intensive, and expensive process. A trucking entrepreneur named Malcolm McLean looked at this bottleneck and realized the core inefficiency was not the ships themselves, but the lack of a uniform way to package the cargo. McLean's solution was the 20-foot equivalent unit, or TEU. He designed a stackable steel box that could seamlessly transfer from a ship to a train to a truck chassis, all without the cargo inside ever being handled. This chart shows the immediate economic impact of that standardization. The cost to load freight dropped from $5.86 a trim using manual labor down to just 16 cents a ton. By cutting loading costs by more than 90%, the container made it economically viable to manufacture goods on one side of the planet and sell them on the other. Mass-scale international trade became profitable. McLean's intermodal system was remarkably efficient, but it was built on a theoretical assumption that global trade would operate in a balanced, closed loop with an equal volume of goods moving in both directions. This map shows how global commerce actually moves. Manufacturing hubs in East Asia export vastly more consumer goods than they import from markets in North America and Europe. This dynamic creates severe trade imbalances. Because the physical flow of goods is heavily one way, the containers follow suit. Millions of boxes arrive at importing ports, are emptied of their cargo, and then pile up in massive storage depots. To keep the supply chain running, shipping lines must reposition these stranded assets back to the manufacturing centers. With no cargo moving in that direction to pay for the trip, the pure operational expense of shipping those empty boxes back is what generates the $20 billion annual loss. Lopsided global consumer habits force physical assets to travel backward against the current, creating the ultimate bottleneck in modern shipping. For shipping lines, owning a container that generates zero revenue while sitting idle in a rail yard is a severe drain on their capital. This creates a lucrative opening for specialized leasing firms. Entities like Triton and Textainer exist to absorb that massive capital burden on behalf of the carriers. These financial giants purchase millions of TEUs and rent them back to the shipping lines using master, long-term, and short-term lifecycle lease agreements. Through these contracts, a rusting steel box resting on a dock is transformed into a highly profitable, recession-resilient financial asset class for private equity. The $20 billion repositioning expense is an operational burden for the carriers, but for the leasing empires, the logistical friction of trade imbalances is exactly what guarantees their existence and profitability. Because the immense cost of empty repositioning is factored into freight rates and ultimately paid by the end consumer, the cargo owners, the shippers, have engineered tactical ways to fight back. One common mitigation tactic is the use of shipper-owned containers, or SOCs. Instead of using the carrier's equipment, The cargo owner brings a box they have independently leased. By supplying their own container for a one-way move, shippers avoid the strict return deadlines imposed by carriers. This allows them to bypass the unpredictable demurrage and detention fees that accumulate during port congestion. This map shows another high-tech approach, known as container triangulation. Instead of sending an unpacked container all the way back to the origin port, logistics operators attempt to route the empty box directly to a local exporter who needs it. By utilizing algorithms to match empty boxes with new local shipments, triangulation eliminates the return leg to the port entirely. This drastically cuts the total empty mileage the container travels, reducing both fuel and handling costs. Both of these tactics operate like a highly coordinated game of logistical hot potato. They are complex operational workarounds designed to continuously offset the macroeconomic inefficiencies of a lopsided global market. Over 70 years, the simple, stackable box envisioned by a trucking entrepreneur has evolved into a deeply complex, globally integrated mechanical system. The $20 billion spent annually moving empty boxes represents the unavoidable friction of a hyper-globalized economy where consumption and production occur on opposite sides of the planet. That friction is meticulously managed, traded, and monetized by financial entities operating largely out of the public eye, turning logistical delays into calculable yields. The shipping container has long outgrown its original purpose as a piece of transportation equipment. It operates as the foundational currency of global trade, carrying the physical weight of our supply chains and dictating the true cost of everything we consume.